All right, everybody. Torrie Wilson is here. Super excited to talk to you today. I remember you from back in the days in WWE and fitness mags. Talk to me about how you got started in fitness in the first place.
Oh, boy. Well, I was living in Idaho. I grew up in a very small town. I actually had anorexia and bulimia when I was a teenager. And when I went to college, I started...
So let's talk about that for a second. Like, how did that kind of come about and manifest? Like,
well, I actually went to a modeling agency when I was 14 in the big city of Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
And the agent told me to lose like 10 pounds. And I thought, 10 pounds, I'll better that with like 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I lost as much as I could. And I was,
you probably didn't even need to lose 10 pounds.
I could have lost 10 pounds to be a model, right?
Right.
But then it just kind of spiraled out of control. And pretty soon I was eating basically an apple a day and doing 2 hours on the Stairmaster after school every day. And I was hospitalized once for dehydration. I went from being like this really good star, like cross country runner to being really bad.
Oh man!
When I was bulimic towards the end of high school. And then when I moved to Boise to go to college, I, started going to parties, and the whole bulimia thing just did not agree with me because I couldn't really make myself throw up. So I started gaining weight.
Yeah.
And I would go to the gym all the time, but I was just kind of putting on that freshman 10, I guess. And then that's kind of when I started reading the fitness magazines and putting pictures of Amy Fadley up on my wall. I want to look like this.
Yeah.
And then following everything that they did, which kind of forced me out of the other bad habit into something that was, it can be very obsessive too.
Yeah, sure.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
At that time, it was much better for me to be that kind of obsessive.
Yeah. So you weren't lifting before that. You started. That was how you started lifting.
Yeah.
Like with Amy Fadley, and do you remember who else you were looking at?
Monica Brandt, Amy Fadley. Amy Fadley, I was obsessed with.
Yeah.
And I remember after I started doing a couple shoots, I was flown to Mexico and I was on a shoot with Amy Fadley and Monica Brandt, and I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. If this girl only knew. So I don't know. It's
And that was late 90s?
That was, late 90s. Because then I ended up moving here to pursue acting and do more fitness modeling or whatever. And 6 months later, kind of fell into wrestling.
So, but in that 6 months, because I have a recollection that you were in a lot of fitness magazines at the time, right?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
It was like a year and a half period, because before I moved, I started doing a lot of shoots, and then even when I first started in wrestling, I was still doing a lot of magazine shoots.
Yeah. Okay. So then talk about how you fell into wrestling.
And then I fell into wrestling because my boyfriend that I moved here with was a big wrestling fan.
Okay.
I made fun of him for watching wrestling. We knew a guy that was friends with a bunch of wrestlers that worked at Gold's Gym, and he took us to a wrestling show, and we were backstage and met all these wrestlers. And I remember I actually had the same agent as Hulk Hogan, but I remember meeting Kevin Nash backstage, and he recognized me from a fitness magazine and was like, we have this storyline idea. Would you be interested? And I'm like, not really, but I'm broke.
Yeah.
And they brought me on as just doing these little skit things and paid me really well. It was, for me, it was being from Idaho and not having seen the world. It was just the coolest, crazy experience ever.
Hey, did you have acting experience at that time?
No.
Okay.
No. And if you ever watched it, you could definitely, I was taking classes.
Yeah.
But I was so nervous, and it just kind of snowballed really fast. And 6 months later, I signed a contract, and then I started dating a wrestler, and then I married a wrestler, and then I really got sucked into it. So
what was the first skit you were in? Do you remember the idea that Nash had?
Yeah, it was so Ric Flair's son, David Flair. They were recruiting him to basically. I was the girl that was trying to be his sexy girlfriend.
Okay.
To recruit him to eventually turn on his dad.
Okay.
So it was part of the NWO.
Gotcha.
With Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash, and it's fun.
And then, so did you start training at the power plant shortly after that, or?
No. Well, For the first year and a half, probably year, I guess, all I did was walk people to the ring.
Okay.
I didn't have to do anything. And then all of a sudden they were like, you know what? We want all the girls to learn how to wrestle. And you guys are going to go to the power plant. And we're like, wait, what? What do you want us to do? And
you didn't sign up for
went,
that.
yeah. And I just remember like crying because I don't know if you know who Medusa is, but she's such a badass. And like, I would be frustrated too if I was her. They're throwing her in the ring with these girls that are so green that don't want to know how to wrestle. We don't want to wrestle.
Yeah.
And
who else was it when you're saying we? Like
Stacy Keebler.
Okay.
Like her and I would like cry. Like we would have whiplash from like just learning how to take a bump.
Yeah.
And
then you get all bruised up from the ropes and everything.
Yes, it was just like it just hurt thinking about it. And I remember once like being dropped on my head. I remember they had actually had camera crews down there once, and they filmed like this little thing of us there, and I was just like, this is like, it sucks.
Yeah.
This is like the worst to be forced. And then eventually,
and how many hours a day and per week were you doing that?
They had us go down there like when we were off from the road, which was like 3 days in between, and we would be there all day.
Oh wow! And who was training you guys?
Well, I remember Medusa. Like, how could I forget?
Yeah.
Which I love her now. And Fit Finley, he always worked with the girls too.
Yeah.
And I know there were other people, but those are the two that.
And did you do your own strength training at the time, or they put you through?
No, they never put us through training. Like, yeah, they never.
Yeah. I think it's like a newer thing with the WWE Performance Center now, where they have their own strength and conditioning coach.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's like real, like athletes, like a real team, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought it was weird. Like when I tell people I was a wrestler, like, oh, you probably were in really good shape from that. And I'm like, not really. Like I did my own thing, but like you're in the ring for 5 minutes. Like, you learn how to do moves, but it's not like keeping you buff.
Totally. So tell me some of your other favorite memories, or maybe least favorite memories from your time in WCW. I mean, and then you were there at the end when it kind of unraveled and the ship was sinking, right?
Yeah. I was
so
there,
when it was good, how was it? Like, did you have?
It was. I don't know that I could really appreciate it because I had not really watched wrestling, which is like, God forbid you say that, but I'm just honest. And so, like, when I was first there, it was like it was. I don't think I really could comprehend what was happening because I didn't know much about it. But looking back, I'm like, wow, that was like a trip, right? Just like the crowds were crazy,
right?
And it was WWF at the time and WCW.
Yeah, because that was like the heat of wrestling, like the Monday Night Wars and everything. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's just looking back, I can appreciate how awesome it was, like the crowds and all that. But at the time, it was just really scary, and all these wrestlers that were like, there's all these rules backstage where you don't. I had no freaking clue. Like you're supposed to like go up and shake everyone's hand and like. Nice to meet you. Introduce yourself to everybody. Well, I come in, like, my agent has me pulling up a limo. Like, it's just embarrassing. And they're probably like, who the F is this?
Yeah.
And so I did everything wrong. And obviously, like, some people were not very nice to me in the beginning. But eventually I learned.
Did you have any bad heat with anybody or any bad ribs pulled on you or anything?
Not really. Not like that. I just felt the energy. Like Scott Steiner did not like me in the beginning.
Okay.
He was like not nice to very many people.
Yeah.
But I think I guess over time I just kind of proved myself. And then when I started dating he became my husband.
That was Billy Kidman?
Yeah. Like he kind of like started teaching me more like, okay, you need to shave people. Yeah. But I was so shy and it was so intimidating. It's not like I thought I was better. It was just like, oh my God, like you have to walk down the hall and like.
Yeah.
Plus, I didn't even know who half of them were.
Yeah. Now, towards the end of WCW, when they were changing, like it was Bischoff, and then it was Vince Russo, and then it was like it was all over the place. Like, what was that? Was that just a?
Oh my God, it was a cluster.
Disaster? Yeah.
It was a cluster, and I remember this. Do you remember Buff Bagwell?
Yes.
I remember him like here. Like, people would, like, not want to lose because, like, they don't want to lose, right? And I remember him saying one time to the writers, I don't mind losing, but my character can't lose. And I'm like, this is a mess. Like, the wrestlers are all, like, running the show. And it's just, like, whoever has the hierarchy is going to obviously get their way.
Yeah.
And it did feel it was scary, like almost scary, right? Especially for someone that's not really used to being in the business.
Yeah. And then guys who were going out and doing shoot promos left and right all the time. Like I remember Scott Steiner would do that.
Yeah.
And I think Hall and Nash were doing that quite a bit. It was like crazy.
Yeah, I probably didn't even know like half of what went on.
Yeah. But like you could tell that probably the end was near. The way that was going.
Yeah, and then it got like I can't remember what happened. I ended up leaving before they folded because they were trying to like cut. They agreed to a contract and then they tried to cut it like in half and like wanted me to like do double dates on the road and all that. And I was kind of like, I didn't sign up for this. And then I wish I would have signed because I would have just gotten paid to sit at home like everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. How often did you wrestle once you started wrestling?
It kind of progressively got more and more. Towards the end, I was wrestling when I was on the road every house show, so at least 3 days a week.
Okay.
I mean that for at least the last 3 years or so.
Yeah.
I retired from back surgery. It's hard to believe because I wasn't like known as like a big wrestler, and I remember them saying to me like, well, maybe it's because you ran a marathon. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's from landing on my back every night.
Right. But that was later in WWE.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you made the transition over there? Was the locker room completely different? And were you welcomed by the guys?
It was so intimidating. Like, obviously, all these guys are worried about their job now. They just bought this new company. But because I kind of had a little bit better idea now what to do, it wasn't as bad, but it was still very intimidating. And the girls weren't all exactly welcoming either. Like, you had to prove yourself, and like it took a while for them. You know, they're just worried about their spot, I guess.
Yeah.
But it just felt like it was. It kind of always felt like if you were like found by Vince, you're kind of always a little bit more like golden child.
Yep.
But, you know, I still had a great time.
So did you enjoy your time there better than WCW?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. There's no way I would have lasted in WCW any longer. It was way more exciting because WWE was so huge.
Yeah. And did you wrestle more when you were there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. First, like, I hardly wrestled at all in WCW.
Yeah.
And then WWE, like, I started to want to learn how to wrestle.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
so you started to enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah. It's like you get to be part of storylines, and like actually when you kind of start learning here and there what to do, it's more fun to perform.
Right.
People get more into what you're doing. It's like, you know, pretty soon I'm like, Vince, can I get thrown into the stairs?
And that was the heat of the Attitude Era. So you guys were pushing the envelope, doing some stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah. Was there a number of times or any time when Vince or whoever came to you and was like, all right, here's what we're doing? You're like, oh, fuck.
Every week.
Yeah.
Every week. It's like, when people say they're going to Google me, I'm like, don't judge, please. Because it was so, I mean, now they're all just like, they're allowed to be athletes. Then it was like, we wanted to prove we were athletes, but we had to do it in a thong bikini because we were getting our clothes ripped off.
Right.
And there were a few times where I remember being out performing in front of all these people with all these girls in bikinis, and the girls that I'm out in the ring with are dancing like strippers, and I'm literally fighting back tears. Like, what is happening right now? Like, I see a 5-year-old in the front row.
Yeah.
But people loved it.
Yeah. So were there any times where you were in kind of arguments or conflicts about that? Like, this is pushing it a little too far?
Yeah.
Or you were kind of just in,
I always felt like I could always put my spin on it, so it wouldn't be quite as gratuitous, I guess. And there were a couple times where I just said, like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And, you know, I would feel, obviously, the brunt of that. Yeah. But there's times when you just got to be like, okay, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, do you have any highlights from your time in WWE? Anything that stands out, like a favorite match, favorite memory?
Oh my God. I feel like there's so many that are blurred together, but when we traveled across the world.
Who did you usually travel with? Like, who did you ride with?
I traveled with Michelle McCool for a while until she started dating Undertaker for like a year. And then towards the end, I was traveling with Candace, Michelle, and Victoria,
Okay.
which the three of us were like a mess, hot mess. Yeah.
I
and then
could see that
Billy.
because I've hung out with Victoria a couple times.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. No, she,
Yeah.
well, I should say she's the hot mess. But we had fun.
Yeah. And give me your impression of The Rock. You were there when he was kind of just getting started, right?
He was like huge at that point in the movie. Like he was
so
in and out.
you came in. Okay. You
Yeah.
came in a couple years later. He was
So
already.
he was like already doing movies, and he wasn't on the road full time anymore. I don't think.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean he's like.
Yes, that was a
best.
few years later. I was thinking because he was for what, like 95, 96 he came in.
I think so. Yeah.
And you got to WWE 2001 or 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
2001.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was talking to Ken Shamrock recently, and he was there when Rock first came up, and he was giving his impression of like the first, at the beginning, you didn't really see it until they gave him the mic. And they were like,
really?
Okay, yeah. It was pretty interesting to get his take on it.
It's so funny how people. I remember when it's unrelated but related. When John Cena was like a jobber,
Yeah.
like doing nothing, right? And we were on an overseas tour, and we were all on a bus going somewhere, and he's like rapping in the back, and he was so good at it, and like people would say like, Cena, do your rap, and then they ended up like hearing that and turning it into his gimmick, and it's just
wow.
It was so natural for him. And if he wouldn't have rapped in the back of that bus or like ever messed around,
Crazy.
it's kind of cool how that works.
And then, one thing, actually, talking about mic skills and whatnot, I read that you were super shy and quiet growing up.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So how do you end up getting out there and doing all that kind of stuff?
Dude.
Like, were there steps that you had to take? Like, was that a struggle for you?
It was. Someone was asking me the other night if I got nervous, and I was like, dude, I literally, every time I thought I was going to pee, I would talk to myself and be like, why the F are you doing this? Like, this is so nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it, but it still was like a drug when you went out there, and when you
Right.
came back, it's like, but there were those nights when like I either had to talk on the mic or do something that was a little pushing the envelope, dance. Oh my God. Dancing sexy, like in front of a crowd, is just not my thing.
Yeah.
And they had me do that a lot. So
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it. I guess
Would you rather do that or talk on the mic?
talk on the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and people would make fun of me because I couldn't dance sexy. So then it would like made it even worse.
Oh, man. So were you guys there at the time? Did you have to do, like, how much work did you do on promos? And had Vince brought in improv yet? Because I know a few guys that worked there probably after you left. We're talking about they did improv quite a bit.
I feel like they got they get all the good stuff now.
Yeah.
It's like a real like regular show. Not that it wasn't a real show before, but it's yeah. I feel like I went to a show recently, and that's the first time I had been to a show in like 7 years. And just the way it was all run backstage is like
totally different.
Yeah,
Wow.
like a regular TV show.
Yeah. Did it feel like not as fun, like more produced?
I think it's in a good way. It was more it definitely was not. Well, also I didn't know anyone too. It's like in a way I felt like I had just been gone yesterday. I was just there.
Yeah.
But it also felt just different because it's not your crew.
Yeah.
But that's great that they have improv. That's what we needed.
Yeah. Do you watch Today much or not really?
Not really.
No. And do you stay in contact with some of the people like Michelle or
yeah,
yeah, you do?
Yeah, I do.
Who do you still stay in touch with?
Actually, I just talked to Michelle like a week ago. Candace, I just went to a sound bath with her.
A what?
A sound bath.
What's that?
A sound bath is like where you're in a room and they have those gongs.
Mm-hmm.
And it raises your energy vibrations. So we did one all night long. Her and her husband slept like all these people in a room, and they did the gongs all night long. It was pretty cool.
And it's kind of like a meditative type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah? Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of stuff like that?
Yeah. I'm totally into meditation and like all that.
Okay. Do you meditate daily?
Not daily.
No. What kind of, do you do a specific kind of meditation?
I do, what do you call it?
Like transcendental or?
No, not Kundalini.
Okay.
Like meditation.
Yeah.
But I mean, I try it all.
Yeah.
I'm up for it all.
Yeah.
I just like to I'm very, probably not what most people think, but I'm very into like crystals and Zen.
So, so back to WWE for a sec before we shift gears. You mentioned that you retired from injury. You know, when you take bumps for a living and land on your back, like you said, you probably accumulate a lot of injuries. Did you have several injuries?
Mm-mm.
No, not really.
No, I just had one disc that was collapsed.
Was there a specific incident, or was it just an accumulation?
It was accumulation, and it was weird because like the last 6 months, it got to a point where I would just like bend over wrong and my back would lock up, and sometimes I'd just be like laying on the couch for 45 minutes just crying.
Oh man.
I literally couldn't move. So then I started. One time they said you have a match, and I was like, I can't do a match because I was so afraid my back would lock up out there in front of the crowd and I wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah.
So then I went home and did this like chiropractic thing where they would pull me every day, and it just felt like it got worse. And then I got surgery.
Mm. How long ago was that?
2008.
Okay, and you're fine now?
No, it hurts all the time, but
really,
I mean, not like it did.
Yeah.
But I also do. I mean, heavy like leg press. I don't slow down.
Right, of course. So let's talk about fitness a little bit more. What was so you talked about Amy Fadley at the beginning and you got into training like that. I want to talk about like how your training has evolved. I guess you were doing like classic bodybuilding style training at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like body part splits and whatnot.
Yeah, I was doing that. Yeah.
Okay. And then did it change at all when you were wrestling?
It did, in the fact that it was just harder. No, that's kind of how I worked out while wrestling too. It was just harder being on the road.
Yeah.
Like
So
no energy.
5 hours of sleep and
yeah, but I
flying.
did. I mean, I pretty much have seen every gym in most cities. Like that was like the first thing I would do when I would fly in somewhere. I needed priority.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that, even if I wasn't working out as hard as I was before, it was still.
I love that. And that helps you get over jet lag when you go in
Yeah,
the train.
yeah.
And a lot of people ask, so you could address this as well as anyone, how do you stick to your diet when you're on the road? How hard is that? Do you have like I mean, back then you didn't even have Yelp or anything. Like, how do you find the healthiest restaurants? And
it was hard. Like, I've never been super regimented, except for when I like competed, and I was like, wait. So during that time, I ate as good as I could, and it would be like the only thing open is like Applebee's after a show.
Yeah.
But I would still always try to find like grilled chicken or whatever, or bring bars. It's way too hard to eat super clean. I mean, and I don't have it in me to carry a freaking lunch pail for a week.
Yeah. So, and then like, how has your training evolved after wrestling? And have you, like, for me, I'm 43. I only noticed in the last 2 years maybe that I don't recover as fast. I'm dating. I'll be 43 in a month. But I don't recover quite as well. So I've had to change things up a little bit. So how has your training evolved over the years, and like, what do you do now?
I'm definitely not. I don't do like the bodybuilder type workouts anymore. I still love to go to the gym and lift weights, but my workouts are all. I love doing stairs, and I do stairs probably almost every day for 45 minutes. It's my time to just. I don't know, just whatever I need to do on my phone, emails, all that stuff. I love listening to house music, and I just like go. Okay. And
do you do the Santa Monica stairs?
I do the Santa Monica stairs too. Yeah. Nice. I like got one of those little vest things. You like, like beast mode, right?
You're getting serious.
Yeah. But I do like more high intensity. The videos that I do on my website are that's the kind of workout I do at the gym too. It's like, those weighted bars, a lot of like lightweight, side lunges, like no stopping. Okay. And just burn out. Gotcha.
And do you split things up, or is it full body every day? How do you do it?
I do legs on their own, and then arms. I kind of just I don't do a lot of arms. Like, obviously, I do them, but just not often.
Yeah.
And I'll do like 1 or 2 upper body mixed in with full body.
Okay.
And it's just, I honestly, I just kind of play it by ear.
Yeah.
Like, I like really learned to listen to my body.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I feel like doing legs 3 days in a row, I'll do legs 3 days in a row.
And how often do you do strength training? Like every day, 5 days a week?
I would say 4 to 5 days a week.
And conditioning, like stairs and whatnot, how often?
Say 5, 6 days.
Okay.
I just took 10 days off because I was moving.
Yeah.
And I lifted yesterday, and I was like, whoa, I'm so much stronger than I thought, because I just love working out. It's not that I'm a meathead, and I don't work out for ever longer than an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
Like, I do it. But I guess my body needed a break, and I'm like, dang, I'm strong.
Yeah, it's so funny because so many of us could use extended layoffs, you know, like 7 to 14 days more often than we take them.
Yeah.
It's just you're probably like me, like it drives you nuts mentally to be out of the gym that long. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you love it, it's not that you're just obsessive about looking good. It's like it feels good. That's how you get your stress out.
Yeah. So now when you were competing or like, obviously, you built a good amount of muscle. So did you train differently back then? I mean, you talked about doing the bodybuilding, but did you do heavy squats and deads, and you train a lot heavier than you do now?
I'm definitely stronger now.
Okay.
I'm in the best shape of my life now. It's crazy. I feel like the older I've gotten, the easier it's gotten for me.
That's amazing.
I think it's building up all that. Like, if I could tell a 19-year-old, work out hard your entire life, because when you're in your 40s, it's going to pay off. Right. Which, like, I eat basically what I want. I mean, I eat a healthy diet, but like, I feel like it condensed. I've never taken like a 6 months off or anything, you know? And my workouts are definitely harder now, but they're shorter and they like mean something, you know? I'm not sitting here going like this. Yeah.
It's so similar to my story too. It's because like we're a similar age, and I get questions from friends that are our age, and like, how do I get in shape? Like, you're in shape, you're my age. I'm like, but I've been training for 25 years straight and eating healthy. Like, it's not going to happen by September. You know what I mean? Like, you're 40 and just starting. It's a different story. Like, like you said, start at 19.
It's pretty hard to catch up at that point, unless you're gonna. I'm sure you can. I don't know if catch up is the right word. Obviously you can, but it's going to take a lot more work. Yeah. We're kind of like on, what do you call it? We're just like riding it out now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I've even noticed what's funny is some of this has to do with just different diet experiments, which I actually want to ask you about. But I never had visible abs until I was 40. Like, I always struggled to get that lean. Like, as a kid, I was skinny fat, you know, and I always had that thick whale skin no matter what I did. And I kind of finally figured some things out. And that was 3 years ago. And I've kind of reset my metabolism where now it's like, it's hard for me to actually get fat. Like, it's not that I'm sitting around eating cake all day. No. It's much harder than it used to be. You know what I mean? Like, I've kind of changed things. Like, so when you were saying it's easier now at my age, I'm like, in a weird way, I kind of relate to that.
Yeah, it's like you're in this fat burning zone. Yeah. Like, once you're in that fat burning zone, you really can, like, you don't want to preach that you eat whatever, but you're just a fat burning machine.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, in my 20s, I didn't think I ever had abs. Maybe when I competed, obviously, but even my abs now are probably better than when I was in a competition.
I was thinking the same thing, because when you were getting ready to come on the show, I was scrolling through your Instagram. I was like, holy shit! Like, you have better abs than you did back then.
No,
That's
people
crazy.
ask me all the time if I'm competing, and I'm like, no. Yeah. I just really love working out.
It's amazing. So let's talk about nutrition a little bit and how that's evolved for you. Because I mean, I've experimented with everything. Have you experimented with a lot of different things throughout the years, and what worked, what didn't? Did you have any miserable failures?
Oh my gosh. Well, traveling, I would always try all those different diets, like the no carb ones, and like, you have no energy. You're dreaming of bagels. You're like on the Stairmaster, like this. Like, you have no energy to work out. Yeah. I tried all those, and then when I started running, I leaned out a lot, and when I cut out dairy, it was like a major one. Okay. That's when my abs started showing. Gotcha. And now, like...
So how long did you try no carb? And did you go extreme, like keto, or...
Oh, yeah. Like, I remember I had a really big photo shoot coming, and I did, like, it was like 2 or 3 months of like no carbs. And I just remember thinking at the end, like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, this is not.
So you felt like shit the whole time.
Yeah. And people, I guess it works for some people. Like, they have a lot of energy, but my body needs carbs.
Yeah.
And what's the use if you can't work out?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because the first time I actually got abs, like I just mentioned, was I started eating a ton of carbs because I tried low carbs forever. Because I was fat, I feared carbs, you know? And then I got lean, eating 300 to 400 grams of carbs a day. So it's
we have the same body.
yeah, it's crazy. So, and then eventually you evolved to just find a kind of like system that you
Yeah, I think because most people, they get to this obsessive thing where they're like, I can't have one piece of pizza because I'll eat the whole thing.
Right.
Like, once you get your mind out of the fact that if you want to have something, you can have it, then you don't really want to. I'm not a big foodie anyways, but before I would always crave stuff because I couldn't have it.
Yeah.
And so now there's just this whole relationship with food. Like, it's like, yeah, if I want it, I'll have it. But that's why most people fail, is because they feel like they can't have it. And then all of a sudden you want it.
Yeah.
So, like, I eat healthy. I don't eat a lot of fried foods. I love French fries and I'll have them sometimes. But, like, you know, I don't go too far in either direction.
Yeah.
It's just like something you can live with.
Yeah. So what's a typical day of eating for you?
I almost always have eggs in the morning, but regular eggs now, not egg whites.
Okay.
I usually have 3 eggs and a piece of toast. And then the rest of the day, it's like I always just eat protein, like maybe 4 hours later. I have a really bad problem sometimes of forgetting to eat. Mm-hmm. But I always have some kind of protein, like chicken or turkey. But, you know, like I'll have tacos. I don't eat like just grilled chicken. I'm not a big salad eater.
Okay.
It like doesn't fill me up enough. So if I eat salads, it has to have like beans and rice and all that good hearty stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. And do you? So you said you avoid dairy. Is there anything else you avoid? Like, are you gluten free or anything? Or
I've never done the gluten. No,
you
not
never
that I
even
know
tried
of.
it?
No, I feel like that's too much to think about.
Okay.
Once you start, I feel like my take on that, there probably are people that are definitely need no gluten.
Yeah.
But it's become this fad. And once you take it out, yeah, of course, when you put it back in your body, you're going to react.
Yep.
So why create that for yourself?
Yeah. No, it's true. I had a similar experience also. But I love, like, when I was on your site, your whole approach to fitness, and you're talking about it now, is kind of like mind, body, spirit, and like a realistic approach to it. Like, it's not obsessive and nuts and dogmatic. So, like, when someone comes to you, what are some basic steps, like some tips that you give them? What do you see people doing wrong?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to, first of all, everyone, when they want to get in shape, they're like, I got to get in shape fast, right?
Yeah.
And you can do that to an extent, but I mean, if it's fast, it's pretty fast that you're going to blow up too.
Yeah.
And it's all because I've gone through all the gamut of it all. I just realize now I feel like the proof is in the pudding, and you don't have to be crazy in any direction. You can, and my basic philosophy is if you train really hard, then you can afford to not have to eat plain chicken breast every day, all day long.
Yeah.
It's all about like beast mode. I just said beast mode meets zen, because it's like beast, I train like a pro athlete. Like when I'm there, it's like hardcore. Yeah. But it pays off in everything else. Yep. So I think the biggest thing is to train hard and smart, and don't act like your freaking life is over and you can never have a piece of pizza or a drink again. Right. Be realistic. I know some people kind of need that, like. Yeah. But. Yeah. And what about, do you do things like yoga? Do you spend extra time on mobility? What are some of your favorite recovery methods? I do hot yoga a lot. I'm working on being better at mobility and stretching. Like, I used to never stretch. Yeah. And if that's one thing with age now, the foam roller is my best friend, or the hard one, the tube. That's been a big thing for me as far as just keeping my back kind of in order. That and the lacrosse ball, traveling, sitting. Yep. I don't know if you're the same way, but like I just can't sit for very long. I can't either. Yeah, my lower back tightens up a little if I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you do anything else? Like, do you regularly get massage or acupuncture or float tanks, cryo, anything like that?
None of that really fancy stuff, no.
No.
I mean, I get massages sometimes, probably not enough, and acupuncture sometimes. But for the most part, yoga is a big thing, meditation.
How often do you do yoga?
I do it probably 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
I go through periods or it's more,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I just like sweating in there too, just release all the toxins, feels like. Yeah, so I mean, I should do cryo.
Do you have any daily rituals or routines you have to do, like a morning routine or anything you have to do every day to kind of feel like focused or productive?
I think that for me, I get more work done in the morning before like the busyness starts happening. But I have to always feel peace around me. So if I'm around chaotic energy or a lot of people that are yelling and like just noise, it's like I can't think straight. Mm-hmm. So anytime that happens, I just make it a routine. Like I have to go into the bathroom or something and like meditate and bring myself down because like people's energy affects me a lot.
Totally.
But other than that, like I think if I would have to like pick one thing, it would be my 45 minutes on the stairs. Like I feel so much. I don't live or die on it, but I feel so much better after I sweat it out.
Yeah, sure. You do that first thing in the morning?
No, I try to go to the gym when it's dead.
Oh,
so like noon.
Gotcha. And what do you do to stay motivated? I mean, you've obviously had a very successful career. Everything you've done's been, you've had success. Are there certain things that you do that keeps you focused, keeps you hungry, keeps you motivated? Or what if someone is lacking motivation? Like, oh, man, I wish I could have a career like Torrie has. Like,
I mean, it's such a hard thing because it's really hard to motivate someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to become self-motivated in some way. And I've done a lot of great things in my life, but I still feel like I have not even touched upon my potential. Mm-hmm. And for me, my biggest motivator right now is I just really want to help people. And I really feel like this, like I feel people's pain as if it's my own. And I know what it's like to feel insecure and not feel good about yourself. And it carries through everything you do in life. And so what I want to reach out and help, especially women, is just to feel a little bit better about yourself and believe in yourself. And whether it's 5 or 10 pounds on a scale or learning how to meditate and take time for yourself or being positive and not letting other people's affect you, whatever it is, like that's the basis for everything else. And you're not going to be successful unless you have that.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. And so your website's Torrie Wilson Fit, and tell us about what's going on there, what people can get there.
Oh, there's so much going on over there. I have a lot of workouts right now, like 20-minute or less workouts geared towards women, but obviously men can do them too. Home workouts, like with simple little dumbbells and stuff. Yep. And there's a lot of stuff on meditation, tons of recipes that are kind of like lowish carb, healthy things that you can live with.
Yeah. And you have a 6-week transformation program? I
do. Yeah. I spent a lot of time on that. All of my favorite tips, workouts, recipes, tidbits. And it's not laid out like you must do this, you must eat this. It kind of like gives you, I feel like it's like a lesson so that you can learn to choose for yourself what works.
Right. Yeah. What do you do? Well, 2 things, actually. I read on your site that you had some business failures as well. Mm-hmm. So can you share some lessons that you've learned, some business failures, and just some business tips that you've learned that you apply to this day?
You know what? Probably the biggest lessons of my life have been failure, obviously. As hard as they are, they create who you are. And if you don't take what you're supposed to take from that, then that's like the worst thing in the world. I've lost everything I've had twice.
Wow.
And I opened up a clothing store in Texas after I was wrestling, and it did really well for 3 years. And then it would just, my business partner was a mess. And I learned a lot about what my pluses are and my minuses, right?
Yeah.
And the hardest thing was getting up from that. Like it took me a while. I really wanted to just put my head in a hole and like give up on life. And I think that's where most people end up ruining their lives.
Yep.
Because we have one failure and we think that's it. And if you look at the most successful people, it's the people that fail.
String of failures, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like not letting people's opinions on what you're doing affect it. Like if you really believe in something and you're telling people about it and they're like, and you let that affect you, how is that going to work? Everybody has, it seems like a bad idea and it turns into like this megawatt $1 million idea.
Right.
But I think that there's something that creates it can either create fear or it can create fearlessness. Mm-hmm. And when you already know what it's like to lose it all, for me anyway, it creates this fearlessness. Like, it can never be that bad.
Right.
And
that's a great point.
Yeah, I feel it's like the best school.
And if you have a bad day today, for example, everything goes wrong, how do you bounce back tomorrow? Is there any like people that you rely on? You read certain books or quotes? Is there anything?
I'm really good at, I have my moments where I'll get like depressed, like all of us, right?
Yeah.
And I really think that just reflecting, I don't know if meditating would be the right word, but just really reflecting on how far you've come in life and the things that you've gone through and where you are, like being grateful. I mean, you just have to learn how to be grateful.
Yeah.
Like, yesterday actually, I had like an hour where I was just, all of a sudden I was kind of like, I'm like depressed. I don't even know why. And I just literally sat there and I was like, you know what? I'm so grateful. I just moved into this beautiful place and I have like this fresh life right now. And it's so easy to get swallowed up into the negativity.
Yeah. Especially today with social media.
Yeah.
And everything. And what do you say to like younger girls, for example, who might look up to you? It's so hard with social media these days. Like I feel for kids who are growing up with social media. Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. And like, we live in a world where you're constantly comparing yourself to others. I mean, sometimes I catch myself doing, I'm like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, how do you avoid that? And how do you help others kind of?
Well, it's funny. Like one of the best gifts I've been given is knowing people in all areas of life who've have it all and who don't have it all. And when you see it all and you see that the people that have it all are usually the most empty, a lot of times
and not happy, miserable.
What you see is not how they're feeling. And you think that they're feeling like they have everything and they don't.
Yep.
So when you see that, it's such a great lesson.
Yeah.
Because we all feel the same inside. We all have our lonely times and we all feel like we need to like be better or whatever. Nothing's ever enough sometimes. I mean,
and you could probably speak to this, having traveled the world as often as you did wrestling. I find that traveling helps so much because when you see, like, we think we have first world problems here, but then you go somewhere and you see someone, maybe not even in a third world country, but just less than we have, and they're so happy. And you're like, what am I upset about?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a lot of
puts
times
things into perspective.
I feel like a lot of people that have less are the happiest.
Totally. Yeah.
The more money someone has, usually the more miserable they are. And that's like, I don't want to judge, but it's just there's a lot comes with that. And a lot of people expect from you too and all of that too. So it's just all about, I had the best lesson ever the other day. I was at this restaurant place and I met this girl and she was so cute. She had like no makeup on, light skin, black girl, like so beautiful. And she was like, not like dressed all, she was just like natural. We chilled for like an hour talking. And then she starts talking about how it's hard for her to meet guys. She starts talking about her Instagram. I'm like, show me your Instagram. Dude, it was so eye-opening. This was a totally different girl. Her Instagram was booty shots, makeup to the hill. Like she was the
Wow.
girl that like you would see outside a club. Like I felt like her mother, and I sat her down and was like, well, not one of these pictures is the person that I wouldn't even believe it was the same person.
Yeah.
And that's the world right now. Everybody puts this whole face out to the world.
Right.
And like, she was so much more beautiful sitting right there. And I'm like, you wonder why you're meeting all these assholes.
Yeah.
Well, this is what you're showing them.
Right.
Just put this out there. And I feel like there needs to be some kind of a comeback for everybody to not, it's just what you see out there is so not real.
No, and it's so great to hear that coming from you. Like, you know, I mean, you've made a living as a model, and you're telling people like that's not real. That's not the way to do it.
No, but the thing is, it's crazy because it's so easy to. We all want everyone to think we have this perfect life.
Yeah,
we don't. Like, yeah, could I hurry up and put tons of makeup on and then go somewhere and have someone make it look like I'm like having the time of my life?
Right.
Or could we just keep it a little bit real and not create misery for ourselves?
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. So one more time before we go here, it's TorrieWilsonFit.com. What's your social? If people want to follow you online.
Oh, Instagram is Torrie Wilson, Twitter, Torrie11, and Facebook, Torrie11.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Torrie. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.